The camera shakes in Mahmoud's hand. It's 3:47 a.m. in Alexandria, Egypt, 1989. On the living room floor, his sister Layla convulses, while their father, Sheikh Ahmed, a 68-year-old man, recites Ayat al-Kursi with a voice cracked from 3 sleepless nights. But it's not the convulsion that makes Mahmoud tremble. It's the voice coming from Layla's throat, deep, guttural, impossible for a 19-year-old girl. And worse, the voice speaks in an Arabic dialect not used for centuries. "You cannot remove me, foolish old man," the voice growls. "I chose her before she was born." Sheikh Ahmed doesn't stop. His tears fall onto the open Quran. His lips keep moving the sacred words, even when Layla, or whatever is inside her, begins to levitate a few inches off the ground. The camera captures everything, and what happened in the next 40 minutes in that simple house in the Sidi Garba neighborhood became the most controversial and analyzed Ruqyah recording in modern Egyptian history. Why did an ancient jinn choose Layla before her birth? What did Sheikh Ahmed, a simple retired imam, do that night that religious scholars from 3 countries still study today? And most importantly, what did that Sony Handycam capture that no skeptic has been able to explain? This story goes beyond anything you've heard about the invisible world. It will touch your heart and challenge everything you believe about a father's faith. I ask you to watch until the end. Because the decision Sheikh Ahmed made at minute 37 of that recording changed not only Layla's life, but how thousands of Muslim families understand spiritual possession. Before I continue with this testimony, I want to ask you who are watching. Check if you're already subscribed to the channel and write in the comments which country you're watching from. I want to know how far this story is reaching and spreading knowledge about spiritual warfare and a father's unbreakable faith. Your comment helps this content reach more people. Now let me take you back to how all of this began. Sheikh Ahmed Hassan was not a famous scholar. He was not a renowned Ruqyah specialist. He was simply a neighborhood imam who had spent 43 years leading prayers at the small Al-Noor Mosque in Sidi Garba, Alexandria. A man known for his gentleness with children, his patience with the elderly, and his habit of feeding stray cats every evening after Maghrib prayer. He had raised 4 children on a modest salary. His wife Khadija had died of cancer 2 years before this night. Layla was the youngest, the one who looked most like her mother, the one who carried her mother's smile and her father's devotion. Layla was studying education at Alexandria University. She wanted to be a Quran teacher for girls. She memorized 3 Jews by the age of 12. She never missed Fajr prayer. She was, by all accounts, the kind of daughter every parent prays for. But 6 months before that night, something changed. It started subtly. Layla began waking up exhausted, as if she hadn't slept at all, though her siblings heard no sounds from her room. She complained of dreams she couldn't remember, only the feeling that someone was calling her name in a language she didn't understand. Sheikh Ahmed noticed. A father always notices, but he dismissed it as stress from university exams. Until the night Layla sleepwalked to the bathroom and spoke to the mirror for 20 minutes in fluent Coptic, an ancient Egyptian language she had never studied. His son Mahmoud, a medical student, found her. She had no memory of it. None. That's when Sheikh Ahmed knew. His daughter wasn't just sick. Something had attached itself to her soul. Sheikh Ahmed did what any faithful Muslim would do first. He took Layla to doctors, neurologists, psychiatrists, sleep specialists at Alexandria's main hospital. They ran EEGs, CT scans, blood work. Everything came back normal. One doctor suggested epilepsy. Another mentioned stress-induced psychosis. A third simply shrugged and prescribed sleeping pills. But Sheikh Ahmed knew his daughter. This wasn't medical, this was spiritual. He consulted with 3 respected sheikhs in Alexandria, each specializing in Ruqyah. The first came, recited some verses, and declared Layla had nothing more than nightmares. The second performed a basic Ruqyah session and said she needed to increase her dhikr. The third took one look at Layla, saw something in her eyes, and quietly told Sheikh Ahmed, "What's attached to your daughter is ancient and powerful. I cannot help you. This is beyond my knowledge." Those words haunted Sheikh Ahmed. Beyond my knowledge. What did that mean? How powerful could a jinn be that experienced Ruqyah practitioners refused to confront it? The incidents escalated. Layla began speaking in her sleep in languages no one in the household understood. Her younger brother claimed he saw shadows in her room moving against the light. The temperature in her bedroom would drop suddenly, even on hot summer nights. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Thursday evening just after Isha prayer. The family was gathered for dinner. Sheikh Ahmed, his 3 sons Mahmoud, Hassan and young Karim, and Layla. They were eating koshari, a simple meal, when Layla suddenly stopped, her spoon frozen halfway to her mouth. "Baba," she whispered, her voice strange, distant. "He's here. He's been waiting for you to give up." Sheikh Ahmed's blood ran cold. "Who, my daughter? Who is here?" But Layla didn't answer. Her eyes rolled back, showing only whites, and she collapsed face first into her plate. That's when Sheikh Ahmed made a decision that would define everything that followed. He would perform the Ruqyah himself, not a famous sheikh, not an expert, just a father armed with nothing but his Quran, his faith, and his desperate love for his daughter. He didn't know it then, but this decision would lead to one of the most documented spiritual battles in modern Islamic history. Sheikh Ahmed prepared for 3 days. He fasted. He prayed tahajjud every night. He recited Surah Al-Baqarah in full each morning. He consulted the few books on Ruqyah he could find in Alexandria's Islamic bookstores, reading about jinn, about possession, about the invisible world that existed parallel to ours. On the 3rd night, he gathered his family. Mahmoud brought his Sony Handycam. The camera was new, expensive, bought to document his medical school graduation. Now it would document something far more extraordinary. "Why are you recording this, Baba?" Mahmoud asked, setting up the tripod. Sheikh Ahmed's answer was simple. "If I fail, if something happens to me, at least there will be proof of what we faced. Other families need to know they're not alone." They laid Layla on a mattress in the living room. The time was 2:17 a.m., the hour when the veil between worlds is thinnest, when jinn are most active, when prayers are most powerful. Sheikh Ahmed had chosen Friday morning deliberately, the blessed day, the day when Allah's mercy is closest. He sat beside his daughter, Quran open on his lap, and began with Surah Al-Fatiha. His voice was steady, strong, filled with a father's determination. For the first 20 minutes, nothing happened. Layla lay still, breathing softly, appearing to sleep peacefully. Hassan and Karim sat in the corner, watching nervously. Mahmoud kept the camera steady, recording everything. Then, at minute 23, Layla's fingers began to twitch. Sheikh Ahmed noticed immediately. He continued reciting, moving to Ayat al-Kursi. "Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum." Layla's eyes snapped open, but they weren't her eyes anymore. The warm brown had turned almost black, pupils dilated impossibly wide. She sat up in one fluid motion, too fast, too smooth, like a puppet jerked by strings. "You," she said, but the voice wasn't hers. It was deep, masculine, ancient. "You dare disturb me, old fool?" The temperature in the room dropped so suddenly that Mahmoud's breath became visible on camera. The light bulb flickered. Somewhere in the kitchen, glass shattered. Sheikh Ahmed's hands trembled on the Quran, but his voice didn't waver. "In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I command you, who are you and what do you want with my daughter?" What happened next would be replayed and analyzed by scholars, skeptics, and believers for decades to come. The thing inhabiting Layla smiled, a cold, cruel expression that never belonged on her gentle face. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from multiple directions at once, echoing off the walls. "I am Qasim ibn Malik al-Marid, of the clan of Fire and Shadow. I have walked this earth for 8 centuries. I was old when the Mamluks ruled Egypt. I was ancient when the Ottomans came." The jinn paused, studying Sheikh Ahmed with predatory interest. "And you think your simple prayers can dislodge me from the vessel I have claimed?" Mahmoud's camera captured every word, every impossible detail. The way Layla's, no, the jinn's, eyes reflected light like an animal's. The way her hair seemed to move in a non-existent wind. The way the shadows in the corners of the room grew darker, deeper, as if something was gathering there. Sheikh Ahmed pressed his palm against his racing heart, seeking courage. "This is not your vessel. This is my daughter, a believer in Allah, protected by her faith. You have no right to her." The jinn laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "No right? I have every right. I chose her the day she was conceived. I have watched her grow. I have whispered to her in her dreams. She is mine by right of claim, witnessed by my kin." "Witnessed?" Hassan spoke for the first time, his voice cracking. "What does that mean?" The jinn's head swiveled toward Hassan with inhuman speed. "It means, young fool, that on the night this girl was conceived, I stood in that room, I marked her. I spoke the words that would bind her to me when she came of age. Your father's prayers, your mother's piety, none of it can break a jinn's witnessed claim." Sheikh Ahmed felt his hope crack. A witnessed claim. He had read about these in the old texts, ancient pacts that jinn made, sometimes with the knowledge of humans, sometimes without. They were considered nearly unbreakable, requiring either the jinn's consent or an imam of extraordinary spiritual power to dissolve. He was just a neighborhood sheikh, an ordinary man. How could he possibly— "I see the doubt in your eyes, old man," the jinn purred. "You understand now. You cannot win. Send for your scholars, your famous sheikhs. None of them can help. I have studied the laws. I know what I am entitled to. In 3 more nights, when the moon is dark, the binding will be complete. Layla will be my bride in the invisible world, and there is nothing you or anyone can do to stop it." The room fell silent except for the hum of the camera. Mahmoud had gone pale. Karim was crying quietly. Hassan looked like he might be sick. But Sheikh Ahmed did something unexpected. He smiled. "You're right," Sheikh Ahmed said quietly, and his sons looked at him in horror. "You're right that I'm just an ordinary imam. No famous sheikh, no powerful scholar, just an old man who buried his wife 2 years ago and who loves his children more than his own life." The jinn's smile widened. "Finally, you accept—" "But," Sheikh Ahmed interrupted, and his voice grew stronger, "you made one critical mistake in your ancient arrogance. You forgot that Allah does not measure power by reputation or titles. He measures it by sincerity, by a father's desperation, by the prayers of a broken heart." He closed the Quran gently and looked directly into the black eyes of the jinn wearing his daughter's face. "Tell me, Qasim ibn Malik al-Marid of the clan of Fire and Shadow, in your 8 centuries of existence, have you ever faced a parent who was willing to die for their child?" Something flickered in those dark eyes. Uncertainty. For just a moment, Sheikh Ahmed stood. "We will continue this tomorrow night, and the night after, and every night until Allah grants me victory or takes my soul, because I will not surrender my daughter to you, not while breath remains in my body." He nodded to Mahmoud. "Turn off the camera. We rest now. Tomorrow, I have research to do." The jinn hissed in fury, and Layla's body convulsed before collapsing back onto the mattress, unconscious. The temperature normalized. The shadows retreated. The oppressive presence lifted like fog burning off in sunlight. As Mahmoud stopped recording, he asked, "Baba, what research? What can we possibly do against a witnessed claim?" Sheikh Ahmed's eyes held a determination his sons had never seen before. "If human scholars cannot help us, then we must find knowledge from another source. Tomorrow we visit the old Sufi monastery outside the city. There is a sheikh there, Sheikh Mustafa al-Qadiri, who is said to communicate with righteous jinn. If this is truly a matter of jinn law, then perhaps we need jinn witnesses on our side." It was a dangerous gamble, seeking help from the invisible world to fight the invisible world. But Sheikh Ahmed had realized something crucial. This battle wouldn't be won by force. It would be won by understanding the rules of engagement, and then finding loopholes that 8 centuries of arrogance had blinded Qasim to. The next morning, Sheikh Ahmed and Mahmoud drove to the monastery, a crumbling structure built during the Ottoman period, home to a small community of Sufi mystics who had dedicated their lives to spiritual practices most mainstream Muslims viewed with suspicion. Sheikh Mustafa al-Qadiri was 93 years old, blind, and spent most of his time in dhikr meditation. But when Sheikh Ahmed explained what was happening, the old Sufi's sightless eyes seemed to see everything. "A witnessed claim," he whispered. "Rare, very rare, and you are right, nearly unbreakable, but not impossible. Tell me, did this jinn specify the terms of his claim?" Sheikh Ahmed thought back to the recording. He said he marked her at conception, that he would take her as his bride when the binding was complete, in 3 nights. Sheikh Mustafa was quiet for a long time. Then he smiled. "He is arrogant, this ancient jinn. He revealed too much. There may be a way, but it will require something from you, Sheikh Ahmed, that few fathers can give." "Anything," Sheikh Ahmed said without hesitation. "Name it. Trust. Complete trust in Allah's justice, even if that justice takes a form you don't expect, even if it requires sacrifice you cannot imagine." Sheikh Mustafa called for tea and dates, then began speaking in a voice that seemed to carry weight from another time. "What you must understand, Sheikh Ahmed, is that jinn law is ancient, yes, but it is not absolute. Even among jinn there are rules, courts, councils. A witnessed claim can be challenged, not by humans, but by other jinn who believe the claim was made unjustly." Mahmoud leaned forward. "You're saying we need jinn lawyers?" The old Sufi chuckled, in a manner of speaking. There are jinn who follow the path of righteousness, who accept Islam, who attend invisible gatherings where they listen to recitations of the Quran. Some even attend our dhikr circles, though we cannot see them. These Muslim jinn are bound by the same sharia that binds us, and according to Islamic law, marriage requires the consent of the bride. Sheikh Ahmed's heart leapt. Consent! Layla never gave consent. Precisely. Qasim's claim is that he marked her, yes, that he has a right to her. But Islamic law supersedes jinn custom. If we can bring this case before the invisible court, the Majlis al-Jinn, and argue that the claim violates Islamic principles of consent in marriage, the council might rule in Layla's favor. But how? Sheikh Ahmed asked desperately. How do we bring a case to a court we cannot see? Sheikh Mustafa reached out, his weathered hand finding Sheikh Ahmed's with surprising accuracy. Tomorrow night, during your Ruqyah, you will not fight the jinn. You will issue a formal challenge. You will invoke the right of muhakama, spiritual arbitration. You will demand that the case be heard by the Majlis al-Jinn before the binding is complete. Qasim, being of the old clans, will be bound by honor to accept. Refusing such a challenge would mark him as lawless, and even jinn fear being cast out by their own kind. And if he accepts, what then? Then the real battle begins. Because in the Majlis, you will not fight with verses alone. You will fight with evidence, with witnesses, with legal arguments. You will need to prove that Layla's will is her own, that her faith is genuine, and that Islamic law protects her from non-consensual spiritual marriage. Mahmoud was recording this on his camera. Baba, this sounds impossible. How can you argue in a court you can't even see? Sheikh Mustafa smiled. He won't be alone. I will send advocates, Muslim jinn who owe me favors from years of dhikr and spiritual service. They will speak on his behalf, but Sheikh Ahmed must be present. He must witness the trial, and he must be willing to face whatever the council decides. That last part hung in the air like a threat. What do you mean, whatever they decide? Sheikh Ahmed asked quietly. The old Sufi's expression grew grave. The Majlis is just, but justice is not always kind. If they rule against you, the binding will be immediate and irrevocable. But if they rule in your favor, Qasim must release Layla and never approach her again. However, he paused. There is a third possibility. The council might demand a substitute, a soul for a soul, someone else to take Layla's place in the witnessed claim. The words hit Sheikh Ahmed like a physical blow. You mean someone else would be bound to him instead? It is rare, but yes. The council might determine that the claim itself was valid, that Qasim did follow proper procedure in marking Layla, but that Islamic law prevents him from taking an unwilling bride. In such cases, they sometimes offer the original claimant a willing substitute, if one can be found. Mahmoud stood up abruptly. No, we're not trading one person for another. There has to be another way. But Sheikh Ahmed was quiet, his mind working through possibilities he didn't want to consider. A father's love is a terrible, powerful thing. It can drive men to madness or to martyrdom. What would happen, he asked slowly, if an old man, someone whose life is nearly over, volunteered to be the substitute? Baba, no! Mahmoud grabbed his father's arm. You can't be serious. You're talking about offering yourself to a jinn. Sheikh Mustafa's blind eyes seemed to pierce through to Sheikh Ahmed's soul. I cannot advise this, but I will not stop you. Know this. If you make such an offer and the council accepts it, you would exist in both worlds, not fully human, not fully jinn. A bridge, a prisoner. It would be a sacrifice beyond any imaginable. Sheikh Ahmed thought of his wife Khadija, who had died in pain but with dignity. He thought of Layla, his youngest, who looked so much like her mother. He thought of the prayer he had made at Khadija's grave. Let me see our children happy before I join you. Prepare me, he said simply. Teach me what I need to know to issue this challenge. We have one more day before the binding is complete. I will not waste it. The second night of Ruqyah began at 11:47 p.m. Sheikh Mustafa had come with them, though his blindness meant he relied on his students to guide him. The living room had been prepared according to his instructions, salt lines on the floor, verses from Surah al-Jinn written on paper and placed in the corners, incense burning with a scent that made the eyes water. Mahmoud set up the camera on its tripod. Hassan and Karim sat against the wall holding hands, praying quietly. Sheikh Mustafa sat in the corner, his fingers moving over prayer beads, his lips reciting dhikr in a whisper. Layla was brought in. She had been unconscious for most of the day, her body present but her consciousness somewhere else. When they laid her on the mattress, Her eyes opened immediately. Black, bottomless, aware. "The old Sufi!" Qasim's voice purred from Layla's throat. "You brought the blind seer. Do you really think he can help you, old man? Tomorrow night the moon goes dark. Tomorrow night she becomes mine, and all your prayers will mean nothing." Sheikh Ahmed sat down across from his possessed daughter, the Quran in his lap. But tonight he did not begin reciting. Tonight he spoke in clear, formal Arabic, the language of law. "Qasim ibn Malik al-Marid of the clan of Fire and Shadow, I, Ahmed Hassan al-Masri, invoke the ancient right of Muhakama. I challenge your witnessed claim before the Majlis al-Jinn. I demand that this case be heard by the Invisible Council before any binding takes effect." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the camera's electronic hum seemed to disappear. The jinn stared at Sheikh Ahmed with an expression that shifted from amusement to surprise, to something that might have been respect. "You dare invoke the Muhakama?" The voice had changed, become more serious. "Do you understand what you ask? The council's decision is final. There is no appeal to human courts, no second chance. If they rule against you, your daughter becomes mine immediately, binding or no binding. Are you willing to risk that?" "I am." "And you understand that you must attend the trial. You must step partially into our world. The experience could shatter your mind, old man. Humans are not made to perceive what we perceive." "I understand." The jinn was quiet for a long moment, studying Sheikh Ahmed with those impossible black eyes. Then slowly, it nodded. "Very well. I accept your challenge. The Muhakama will convene tomorrow at the hour when night is darkest and dawn has not yet broken. The council will hear both sides. But know this, Ahmed Hassan al-Masri. I have never lost a case before the Majlis. I have existed for 8 centuries. I know every law, every precedent, every loophole. You are a simple imam. You will lose. And when you do, watching your daughter's fate will be your punishment for your arrogance." Sheikh Ahmed's voice was steady. "Perhaps. But I would rather lose having fought than surrender without trying. That is what fathers do." Something flickered across the jinn's face. Was it annoyance or was it something else? Something that, in a human, might have been called grudging admiration. "Tomorrow night, then. I will come for you when the Majlis convenes. Prepare yourself, old man. What you are about to witness, few humans have seen and remained sane." Layla's body went limp, consciousness departing as suddenly as it had arrived. The oppressive presence lifted. The temperature returned to normal. Sheikh Mustafa spoke from his corner. "It is done. The challenge has been accepted. Now, Sheikh Ahmed, you must prepare spiritually. Fast tomorrow. Pray tahajjud. Recite Surah Al-Kahf in full. Your mind must be as clear as possible. Your faith as strong as steel. What you will experience tomorrow night will test every assumption you have about reality." Mahmud turned off the camera. His hands were shaking. "Baba, this is madness. Let me go instead. I'm younger, stronger. No, my son, this is my battle. Mine alone. You have your whole life ahead. I have lived mine. If sacrifice is required..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. That night, none of them slept. Sheikh Ahmed spent the hours in prayer, in preparation, in making peace with whatever might come. He wrote letters to each of his children, to be opened only if he did not return from the trial. He gave instructions to Mahmud about Layla's care. He made arrangements for his funeral just in case. As Fajr prayer approached, he stood in the darkness of his room and whispered, "Khadija, my love, I may see you sooner than I thought. Pray for me. Pray that I have the strength to save our daughter." The final night was about to begin. The camera begins recording at 2:34 a.m. The timestamp is clearly visible in the corner of the frame, a mundane reminder of the extraordinary events about to unfold. Sheikh Ahmed sits cross-legged on the floor, dressed entirely in white. He has performed full ablution. His Quran rests on a wooden stand before him. Around his neck hangs a simple tasbih that had belonged to his wife. Sheikh Mustafa sits beside him, the old Sufi's hands raised in silent supplication. Layla lies on the mattress, still unconscious. Hassan, Karim, and Mahmud form a circle around the perimeter of the room. The salt lines remain unbroken. At 2:47 a.m., the temperature drops so suddenly that frost forms on the windows. The camera captures it, impossible crystalline patterns spreading across glass in July. Layla's eyes open, black, empty. Qasim's voice emerges, but different now, formal, ancient, carrying the weight of ceremony. "Ahmed Hassan al-Masri, the hour has come. The Majlis al-Jinn has convened in the space between spaces, in the realm you cannot see. I will serve as your guide. Are you prepared to enter?" Sheikh Ahmed's hands trembled slightly as he answered, "Bismillah, I am ready." "Then close your eyes, hold your Quran close, and do not, under any circumstance, let go of it. It is your anchor. Without it, you will be lost in our world forever." Sheikh Ahmed clutched the Quran to his chest. He closed his eyes. And then, the camera captures what happens next, though scholars still debate whether it's a trick of light, a camera malfunction, or something genuinely supernatural. Sheikh Ahmed's body goes rigid. His mouth opens as if gasping for air that isn't there. His eyes, still closed, begin moving rapidly beneath the lids, like someone in REM sleep, but far more intense. Sweat beads on his forehead despite the freezing temperature, and then he begins to speak, but he's not speaking to anyone in the room. He's speaking to beings the camera cannot capture, his voice responding to voices no one else can hear. "Yes, yes, I understand. I stand before the Majlis al-Jinn. I claim protection under Islamic law for my daughter, Layla Hassan al-Masri." Mahmoud's camera shakes as he tries to keep it steady. His father is there, physically present in the room, but clearly experiencing something else entirely. It's like watching someone on a phone call, but the conversation is about life and death, about visible and invisible worlds colliding. The claim was witnessed, yes, but consent was never obtained. Islamic law requires a bride's consent. She was never asked. She never agreed. A pause. Sheikh Ahmed's face contorts in concentration, as if listening to arguments he can barely comprehend. The precedent of jinn marriage to humans requires both parties to be willing. Surah Ar-Rahman speaks of huris, not forced bonds. The Prophet, peace be upon him, specifically forbade forced marriage. The jinn's voice through Layla responds, but now it's speaking in the formal language of courts. The marking was completed before the soul entered the vessel. Therefore, the claim predates her will. By ancient law, such claims are valid regardless of later consent. Sheikh Ahmed's eyes snap open, but they're not seeing the room. They're seeing something else. His voice rises, stronger now, filled with a father's passion. "Then your ancient law contradicts the Quran. And when there is contradiction, which takes precedence? Your customs or Allah's word?" The room falls silent. Even the jinn seems stunned by the boldness of the argument. Then Sheikh Ahmed plays his final card, the one Sheikh Mustafa had taught him. "And if the council rules that the claim is valid despite the lack of consent, then I offer badal, substitution, as is my right as the girl's guardian and father. Let the council accept me in her place. Let me bear the witnessed claim. Let my daughter go free." "Baba, no!" Mahmoud's anguished cry pierces the supernatural stillness, but Sheikh Ahmed doesn't hear his son. He's somewhere else, standing before judges no human eye can see, offering himself as sacrifice. The camera captures Layla's body beginning to convulse. The jinn's voice emerges, but now it sounds uncertain, conflicted. "You would do this. Trade your freedom, your soul, your very existence, for hers, without hesitation," Sheikh Ahmed whispers. "That is what love is. That is what fathers do." And then the room explodes with light. Not physical light, but something the camera captures as pure white radiance that makes the footage nearly unwatchable. The timestamp on the camera goes haywire, jumping forward and backward, as if time itself has become unstable. Sheikh Ahmed screams, a sound of agony and transcendence mixed together. His body arcs backward. The Quran falls from his hands. No, it doesn't fall. It floats. Suspended in midair, pages flipping on their own, verse after verse becoming visible to the camera, though there's no wind, no physical explanation. And then, at minute 37 of the recording, the moment that scholars and skeptics have analyzed frame by frame for decades, something happens that no one has been able to explain. The white light fades, the timestamp stabilizes. The temperature returns to normal with such suddenness that the frost on the windows melts and runs down the glass in streaks that look almost like tears. Sheikh Ahmed collapses. Mahmoud drops the camera. For a moment, the footage shows only the ceiling, spinning, before he catches himself and rushes to his father's side. But it's not Sheikh Ahmed who speaks first. It's Layla. Her eyes, her normal, warm brown eyes, blink open. She sits up slowly, looking around the room in confusion. Her voice, when it comes, is entirely her own. "Baba, what happened? Why am I on the floor? Why are you all looking at me like that?" She's back. She's genuinely back. Mahmoud can see it immediately. The way she moves, the way she speaks, the confused concern on her face. This is his sister, not the entity that has been wearing her skin, But Sheikh Ahmed doesn't respond. He lies on his side, curled into himself, his eyes open but seeing nothing, his body trembling uncontrollably. "Baba!" Hassan drops beside his father, trying to rouse him. "Baba, please, wake up, speak to us." Sheikh Mustafa moves forward with surprising speed for a blind 93-year-old man. He places his hands on Sheikh Ahmed's forehead, his lips moving in rapid prayer. After a moment, he speaks. His soul has returned, but it has traveled far, farther than any human should go. He has stood before the Majlis. He has witnessed the invisible world. The mind needs time to reconcile what the soul has seen. "Will he be okay?" Karim asks, his voice breaking. "That depends on the ruling, on what the council decided, on what sacrifice was accepted." Sheikh Mustafa turns his blind eyes toward where Layla stands. "Child, come here, let me see you." Layla approaches hesitantly. The old Sufi places his hands on her shoulders, his expression shifting through several emotions: surprise, confusion, and finally, something like wonder. "Extraordinary," he whispers. "The claim is gone, completely. Not just broken, erased, as if it never existed. I have never seen this before. Never." "What does that mean?" Mahmoud demands, retrieving his camera and pointing it at the old Sufi. "It means the council ruled in your father's favor, but more than that, it means they did something unprecedented. They didn't just void the claim, they removed every trace of it, past and present. The marking is gone. The binding never happened. In the eyes of both worlds, visible and invisible, Layla is completely free." Layla begins to cry. Tears of relief, of confusion, of gratitude for something she doesn't fully understand. "But what did it cost? What did Baba sacrifice for me?" That's when Sheikh Ahmed finally stirs. His eyes focus. He looks around the room, seeing his children, seeing Sheikh Mustafa, seeing his life as if for the first time. When he speaks, his voice is hoarse, aged beyond his years, but filled with a strange, peaceful certainty. "I offered to take her place, to bear the claim, to become the bridge between worlds." He pauses, swallowing hard. "But the council, they said something I never expected. They said that a father's love offered freely, without coercion, without expectation of reward, was worth more than any witnessed claim. They said that such love was itself a form of worship, that it reflected the attribute of Allah that humans call mercy." Tears stream down his weathered face. "And then Qasim, the jinn who had tormented us, he spoke before the council. He said that in 8 centuries he had never witnessed such love. He said that Islam teaches mercy above all, and that if a human could show such mercy to his child, how could he, a Muslim jinn, show less? He withdrew his claim, voluntarily. He released her not because he was forced to, but because," Sheikh Ahmed's voice breaks, "because witnessing a father's love reminded him of Allah's love for his creation. He said he had become corrupted by time, by power, by ancient customs that contradicted the very faith he claimed to follow. He asked for forgiveness, from Layla, from me, from Allah." The room is silent except for quiet weeping. Even Mahmoud behind the camera is crying. "Where is he now?" Layla whispers. "The jinn. Qasim, what happened to him?" Sheikh Ahmed looks at his daughter with eyes that have seen beyond the veil. He was offered redemption by the council, a chance to serve rather than claim, to protect rather than possess. He accepted, and now, a small, tired smile. Now he guards this family as penance and as choice. You will never see him, but he is there, a former enemy, transformed into an invisible guardian. 6 months have passed since that night. The camera captures this too. Mahmoud has continued filming, documenting the aftermath, the healing, the transformation. The footage shows Sheikh Ahmed walking with a cane now. The journey to the Majlis aged him in ways that cannot be measured in years. His hair turned completely white in a single night. His hands shake sometimes, especially when he's tired. But his eyes hold something they didn't before. A depth, a knowing. As if he's seen the machinery behind reality and can never unsee it. He still leads prayers at Al-Nur Mosque, but his sermons have changed. He speaks now about mercy, about love, about the unseen world, not as something to fear, but as something to respect. People travel from across Alexandria to hear the Imam who challenged the Majlis al-Jinn and won through love rather than power. Layla has returned to university. The footage shows her laughing with friends, studying in the library, living the normal life of a young woman. But she wears a specific hijab pin now, a small silver piece engraved with Ayat al-Kursi, not out of fear, but out of remembrance. Out of gratitude for a second chance, she started teaching Quran to young girls in the neighborhood, just as she always wanted. But her lessons include something unique, stories about respect for the unseen, about the importance of consent, about how faith should liberate rather than bind. The Hassan family home has changed too. The living room where the Ruqyah took place is now used for community gatherings. Sheikh Ahmed hosts sessions there every Thursday evening, where families dealing with spiritual problems can come, share their experiences, and receive guidance. Sometimes these sessions are attended by people no one can see, Muslim jinn who come to learn, to pray alongside humans, to bridge the gap between worlds. Mahmoud completed his medical degree. The footage from the Ruqyah, 37 minutes of the impossible captured on Sony Handycam, was submitted to Islamic scholars at Al-Azhar University for analysis. The verdict remains divided. Some call it a hoax, others call it genuine documentation of spiritual warfare. Still others simply acknowledge that there are things science cannot yet explain. But for Mahmoud, it doesn't matter what scholars conclude. He was there. He saw his father offer his soul for his sister. He witnessed love transcend the boundaries between seen and unseen. That's enough. The camera captures a moment, 3 months after the Ruqyah, that Mahmoud considers the most important footage he ever recorded. Layla is praying Fajr in her room. The early morning light streams through her window. She's alone, or appears to be. But as she finishes her prayer and raises her hands in dua, something extraordinary happens. The camera, positioned to catch the sunrise, captures what looks like a second shadow on the wall. A tall figure, standing respectfully at the edge of the room, bowing its head as if joining in the prayer. Layla doesn't turn around. She doesn't acknowledge it, but she whispers, "Thank you for letting me go. May Allah guide you on your path of redemption." The shadow ripples, almost like a nod, and disappears. Mahmoud showed this footage to his father. Sheikh Ahmed watched it in silence, then said simply, "Qasim keeps his word. He is there, protecting her, as he promised the Majlis. But he no longer seeks to possess. He has learned to serve." The final piece of footage Mahmoud captures is from a family dinner held on the anniversary of Layla's liberation. The whole family is there, Sheikh Ahmed, his 4 children, and several neighbors who have become like extended family. They're eating, laughing, sharing stories. At one point, Sheikh Ahmed stands and raises his glass of water in a toast. His voice is soft, but carries to every corner of the room. To Layla, who survived. To this family who stood together. To the Majlis, who chose mercy over law. And to Qasim ibn Malik al-Marid, who learned that redemption is always possible, even for those who have walked in darkness for 8 centuries. May Allah guide us all. Everyone drinks. And in the corner of the frame, just for a moment, something that might be a trick of light or might be something more, flickers in acknowledgement. The Hassan family has learned to live with one foot in each world, the seen and the unseen, and they are, in their own way, proof that love can transform even the most ancient of hatreds, the most ironclad of claims, the deepest of spiritual wounds. The story of Sheikh Ahmed Hassan and the night his daughter was freed from a jinn's witnessed claim spread far beyond Alexandria. The footage, despite controversy, became one of the most discussed pieces of evidence for the reality of spiritual warfare. Universities studied it, skeptics debunked it, believers held it up as proof. But for those who were there, who lived through it, the debates missed the point entirely. This story is not about proving that jinn exist. Anyone who reads the Quran already knows they do. This story is about what happens when faith is tested to its absolute limit, when a father must choose between his own safety and his daughter's freedom, when love becomes so powerful that it transcends the boundaries between worlds. Sheikh Ahmed taught us that the greatest Ruqyah is not recitation alone, though recitation is essential. The greatest Ruqyah is sincere love combined with unshakable faith. When you face the invisible world, you face it not with just verses, but with the strength of your heart. Qasim ibn Malik al-Marid taught us that even beings of fire and shadow, even entities that have existed for centuries in corruption and pride, can choose redemption, can choose to serve rather than dominate, can choose mercy over power. The Quran tells us that jinn can be believers or disbelievers, righteous or corrupt. Qasim chose, after 8 centuries, to remember his faith. And Layla taught us that sometimes being saved doesn't mean being weak. It means being loved so fiercely that others will stand between you and darkness, will offer themselves in your place, will fight invisible battles on your behalf. But it also means living a life worthy of that sacrifice, teaching others, serving your community, passing forward the mercy shown to you. If you have watched this story to the end, I ask you, what would you sacrifice for those you love? When faith and fear collide, which do you choose? When the invisible world presses against the visible, do you run or do you stand? Share this story with those who need to remember that in Islam, love is not weakness. It is the most powerful force in creation. That mercy triumphs over judgment. That redemption is always possible, for humans and jinn alike. Subscribe to this channel if you want more stories that challenge how you see faith, family, and the unseen world that exists alongside our own. Leave a comment telling me, have you ever experienced something that tested your faith? Something that made you question the boundaries between worlds? Sheikh Ahmed Hassan is 84 years old now. He still leads prayers at Al-Noor Mosque. Layla has married a teacher of Islamic studies, a good man who knows her story and loves her anyway. They have 2 children, and Layla teaches them about gratitude, about unseen guardians, about the importance of consent and mercy. And sometimes, on quiet nights when the family gathers, they feel a presence in the room. Not threatening, not possessive, just there, watching, protecting, keeping an ancient promise. Because in the end, we are all, human and jinn, visible and invisible, seeking the same thing, redemption, love, and a place to belong. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you all. May Allah protect you from harm seen and unseen, and may you never underestimate the power of a parent's love.